I think what a lot of what the movie tries to speak about as well is you can't do this alone.
I'm speaking today with Daniel Pozo, the head of character animation on GOAT at Sony Animation or Sony Pictures Animation. Daniel, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
No, no worries. Happy to be here.
Um, I, I, I've said to numerous people that I really love GOAT. Like it's just so much fun, and I love the visual style. And I mean, you mentioned this just before we started chatting, but I would love to know what got you into animation. What is it that you're passionate about the art form?
Absolutely. When I was a kid, I was really obsessed with film and filmmaking, and having an older brother that introduced me to a lot of different movies, a lot of different styles of movies, from anime to live action to not your usual Disney kind of movies as well. I I realized I had a passion for animation, but also film in general. And from a young age, I just tried to find as much information on like how to make movies and how animation is done. And then seeing movies like The Lion King or the first Toy Story, and then the Blizzard um, game and cinematics for games like the original Diablo or Warcraft 3, like seeing those cinematics just really made me feel like that's a career, something that I would really, really love to be in. And yeah, when I after I went to school for animation, it really I became hyper focused on the actual medium of animation, and specifically doing animation or the performance side of animation, not so much the other disciplines that animation kind of encompasses. So I kind of hyper focused on the movement and performance, and then yeah, it all was a launching point from then.
Truly, there's animation for me has been something that I've been absolutely fascinated with right through. I remember talking about animation cells and 24 frames per second and all this stuff as a kid, because it's amazing to me how you can give life to a vision to a drawing
Yeah.
or computer generated. It's just incredible. Um, and I have to say, I genuinely mean this. Sony has found their niche. I mean, their animated style, especially, and I know you're involved in the Spider-Verse films.
Yeah.
I would say since then, Sony is bringing something entirely unique. But what in your mind makes them so different? Like, what is it about this style that is different from anything else?
I feel foremost, or firstly, the Sony is seems to be very creatively artistic driven. Like they're since I feel like it, even before Spider-Verse, that there's always been these movies that are very artistically driven by one voice or by a couple of voices. Like even going back to like the first Hotel Transylvania or Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Like they I feel like Sony has always been trying to do something more artistically driven and unique and very different with different styles. It's an amazing company to be at because one movie can be in the style of Hotel Transylvania, and then you can work on something like Jacob and the Sea Beast, or Over the Moon, or like In Your Dreams, where it's like a completely different style, and you can play with different styles of animation and really just have fun. But yeah, it's great that like we're able to give voices to artists that have very specific visions on, especially with Goat. Like both directors had such a specific vision and wanted to make this a love letter to not just like the sport of basketball, but like the whole culture of basketball and everything that surrounds it, from like the music to the shoes to the fashion to graffiti to hip hop. Like everything was just such a specific vision, and I think that that sings true when the movie comes out. Like people really relate to it because it is a very specific. Um, yeah, it's a very like universal story, but also very specific in what they want to tell and how they want to tell it.
I love that you're saying that because there is something about this particular film where it is easy to connect with these characters on every level. And I know that we've seen many films before about animated animals, etc., of doing human-like things. Um, but there is something about there's an emotional story here that really you can connect with, and it's fun and it's funny. And what excited you to be involved in this particular film?
The initial conversation about what the directors wanted to achieve was really the launching point for me. They described this movie as a very visceral, experiential, grounded, um, sophisticated approach. They didn't want it to be a traditional kind of cartoon, Looney Tunes kind of approach to basketball, the animation. They wanted it to feel like Ford versus Ferrari. They wanted it to feel like a very um, grounded movie in the culture, and I immediately fell in love with the main character of Jet. Like when I saw her designs and drawings and the turntable that they had shown us, I immediately knew what kind of movie that they were trying to make. Like it was such a striking image, and she was so different than any other kind of anthropomorphic animal designs that we've seen in animated movies. So she's very muscular, she's very angular, but also has that femininity that comes through as well. And I was drawn to the project immediately. I knew straight away what I could bring to it, and yeah, I fell in love with the project right there and then.
It's funny. I mean, the film's called Goat, and Will is the center point of the film. I really do think Jet is the central story in so many ways of this particular film. I love her journey and her look, and I see why that would draw you'd be drawn to that. What was there a particularly challenging aspect to bringing this film to life? I mean, you talk about how grounded you want it to be and driven by these characters, or a new technique that you wanted to bring to life through the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Like immediately there were challenges that were very obvious. Like these characters not only had to run on two legs in bipedal form, but they had to have the ability to explode into quadruped mode, like on all four legs. And that was one of the biggest challenges at the beginning, was like, how can we make these characters um, feel real and visceral and just cool, and like make it look really fun to look at. And once we were able to establish how these characters moved, then using like real world basketball reference, or like shot mechanics or anything basketball related, that we could find and implement into these characters. Then it was about exaggerating the performance, like using their animal like idiosyncratic behaviors. Like Jet is a big cat, so we asked the question, like, what if she used her tail to dribble the ball, or what if goat Will Harris, or what if he used his head to pass the ball? And then we started opening up these conversations about, like, all right, we have the mechanics down of like how they should be playing basketball, but what if we injected a little bit of their animal side into it? And that then it opened a bunch of new doors. But we established this new process on this movie called assets in motion, where we were able to have a very, very fast version of the character in animation, so that we could just experiment as quickly as possible. And we were able to create a bunch of different tests that we then showed the directors, so we could have those early conversations before we got into main movie production, and just hash out, like, what do we like, what don't we like, which sometimes is just as important, like figuring out um, what the shorthand is with the directors, what they really like and what maybe they don't want to do. And that just informed like the entirety of the show. Like we were able to just have all these answers, all these questions answered right really, really early in production about it.
It's funny you say that. This isn't really a question, it's just a moment when we were watching it, because we noticed these little details. My youngest, who's 11, leans over to me and he says, "Dad, why are there holes in the ball?" And I said, "Well, probably because they're animals and they would use their claws to they would need to grab and oh, like these little details that sort of bring the world like tactile look.
Mhm.
They're fun. It's fun to see. Um,
Yeah, even down to the performances, like the capybara character of Daryl. Like one of the best moments I found was when one of the animators threw in like a little ear twitch before they started talking, and it kind of showed that like that was his brain processing things. Like he would some like thing would fire in his brain, his ears would twitch, and then he would say the line. And it was such a fun little detail for his character that we tried to implement that for the rest of the movie. Every time that when his one brain cell would fire and he would think of something to say, like his ears would kind of precede the performance.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. It's like one of the things I noted is that there's a lot of detail in this film, but it's not going for realism. It's this unique blend of hyper detailed and so frenetic and energetic in its style. But it still comes back to character. It's a wonderful mix.
Yeah,
Um,
we wanted to find a blend of it feeling grounded and sophisticated, but also be playful. Like we wanted these characters and the designs of the characters really lend to a playful kind of style that they feel a little bit more tangible, a little bit more squishy. That they're not. It's not like hyper based on realism, and yeah, we just looked at exaggerating the performances as well, especially the action. Like Will is able to jump further than a human would able to be in certain basketball moves. So when he would do a certain basketball move, one of the notes from the directors would be like, well, what if he jumps extra far on that move? And that really lended to into their animal qualities, and that could come out as something that we could play with.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it works. It works on so many levels. I wanted to ask you this too. The theme of the film, one of the key themes of the film is roots run deep.
Yeah,
And I love that. I love that it keeps coming back. And I was wondering, in your mind, as you're helping create these characters, what does that mean to you, and why is it so important for these characters and maybe for kids who are watching?
I think for me the it meant a sense of family. It meant a sense of like team camaraderie, and I think what the movie tries to speak about as well is you can't do this alone. You can't be alone kind of person trying to achieve your goals. That a lot of people help you along the way, and even in as we were making the movie, we had so many animators and so many different people in different departments, like all coming together to make this movie. It was such a team effort that it was not just on one person doing things alone. Like I had to lean on my leadership team and my animation team to really step up and bring their best versions of their animation. And I think that's where Roots Run Deep is the underlying kind of moral of the story is that you know Michael Jordan said that like that teamwork wins championships, right? Like you can't do this alone. You need a strong team around you, and you need to be grateful for the people that you have around you that make your life better.
I love that. I love that. And honestly, like I said, the film is so much fun. It's an absolute joy to watch. And and before we wrap, before we go, I have to tell you that my youngest also has made a pitch for a follow-up film. He
Oh,
wants
wow.
a Moto solo movie.
Yes.
And I he'll be thrilled that I got the chance to tell you that, but I just thought I'd throw that out
I
there.
love
But
Moto was, I think, like across the board everyone's favorite character because all the other characters kind of had their set rules, for lack of a better word, that kind of these things that we lean into, like Jet or Will. They were such an amalgamation of different basketball characters, but also different real life personalities as well that we injected. And with Moto, it was just like letting the animation team just have fun and create unexpected performances. Like Moto was our rule breaker. He could just appear on one side of the screen and the next screen he's not even there anymore. He's doing something in the background, eating chips, and then he's on the floor. And so it was such a joy because every time that we would see something come through from the animators, it was always we would always be laughing because it was like this is hilarious. It's ridiculous, but hilarious. And the directors were so on board with it. They were just like, go for it. Let's push it. Let's keep having fun with this.
It honestly, they all win you over, but he's absolutely a favorite. He's just so fun. And honestly, Daniel, thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it. The film is just a blast, and I have a great day. I wish you the best.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, man.